So one of my favorite novels as a kid, and one I read over and over and over again, was Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, if you've only seen the movies and never read the book, it's basically the same story. Little Charlie Bucket is very poor and lives in a ramshackle house with his hardworking parents and elderly grandparents, who all share the same bed and who put a strain on the family's meager finances. When the fabled local chocolatier Willy Wonka decides to open up his secretive candy-making process to winners of a contest who have found a golden ticket inside their Wonka bars, a very lucky Charlie Bucket and his Grandpa Joe are invited along with 4 other winners and their families to tour the chocolate factory. Now, in the story, all of the other winners are rotten children with variously indulgent parents, and each is dismissed from the tour after giving in to their worst impulses. Charlie is the good-hearted boy who is deserving of becoming Wonka's apprentice and heir. The original movie adds in a subplot where Charlie steals an everlasting gobstopper and provides his character with some redemption by returning it. But in the book, he's actually just the stand-in for the reader, simply amazed at everything he's seeing in a chocolate factory full of sweet candy grass fields and edible flowers, and of course, a flowing river of molten chocolate. It's a great book, but it's also obviously a fantasy. Real chocolate factories don't have Oompa Loompas working on secret projects and singing whimsical songs. They don't have rooms filled with squirrels who crack open nuts or television antennas that beam product samples into home TVs. And they definitely don't have great glass elevators. How do I know this? Well, because here in St. Louis, there's a factory in the hill called the Chocolate Company, and they offer free tours to the public multiple times a day. And I went on one of these tours recently, and it surprised me because the entire experience got me to do something that I haven't done in a while, and that's buy candy from a candy store. I'm Sean in St. Louis, and this is the Marketing Gateway. So the Chocolate Company is a St. Louis brand that's known for its retail stores, often in the same upscale shopping centers where you might find a Deerberg's grocery store. At the factory, they make their own brand of chocolate candy, as well as their fairly recently acquired Bissinger's brand, which they acquired in 2019. Now, Bissinger's traces its heritage back to confectioners 350 years ago in France, but they moved to St. Louis in 1927 to provide high-quality European-style chocolate. The Chocolate Company has also been around for a while. It was founded in 1981 by the Abel family and moved to the Hill in 2012. Their current facility is still being developed. They just opened a chocolate cafe last fall, and they have a full retail store in their front office to also serve as a reception area for their tours. But it is a busy factory, churning out thousands upon thousands of pieces of chocolate a day with multiple production lines and hand-picking lines to process those creations. Now, I have bought plenty of candy from the Chocolate Company over the years, but I really didn't have any concept of how it was made or where it came from. The retail store workers are generally nice, but not super knowledgeable about what they have in their cabinets, and the prices reflect the quality of the fair trade premium chocolate that the brand is known for. Likewise, I've indulged in Bissinger's chocolate from time to time. They used to have a dessert place in the Central West End that was really neat. And the Chocolate Company has been expanding the brand to have a broader retail footprint outside of St. Louis with locations in Florida, Indiana, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Tennessee. Bissinger's is most famous for its classic recipes that include confections such as chocolate-dipped candied fruits, European truffles, and gummy pandas. Under the Chocolate Company, the brand has also been re-releasing old recipes from the vault. A wonderful idea that Disney's often used to re-release its classic movies. And some of their best items now feature in the new chocolate cafe at the Chocolate Company's factory location. So while I was there, I tried some of their chocolate gooey butter cake. And, if you're a St. Louisan, why adding Bissinger's to that incredibly great dessert that's already good would be pretty incredible. But, I probably wouldn't have even gone to that cafe if it weren't for the fact that I was already scheduled to go on the free factory tour next door to it. The tours have been one of those things people have been talking about for years. Take a tour, hey, get some free chocolate. But the location of the factory is in an industrial area, and the building itself faces the Interstate 44 highway up above. You also have to place a reservation to go on the tour since they limit how many people can be on the floor at one time. And everyone has to wear a hairnet or a paper hat. One guy had to wear 3 hairnets because his hair was so big. After all, the workers are busy making chocolate, and the FDA won't let tours happen if proper hygiene rules aren't being followed. The experience of touring a chocolate factory isn't nearly as exciting as visiting Willy Wonka's fabled factory because it's largely just people in white coats and face and hair coverings sorting, decorating, or boxing chocolate pieces that travel along long conveyor belts. Some of the machines are designed to coat the candy with chocolate seals on the top and bottom to help preserve their freshness, and others are designed to make it easy for the workers to add toppings or decorations. The tour itself was really just walking around an L-shaped chained-off area on the side and getting to peer into the candy kitchen through a window and also watching the factory workers go about their business. But the Chocolate Company also has an area with some of their historic mixing machines, and by the way, some of those still work, as well as some older candy making equipment like marble tables and a copper bowl with a wooden spoon. At the end of the tour, you're rewarded with a sample piece of chocolate, and then off you go back into the attached retail store to hopefully make a purchase now that your curiosity has been sated and your appetite for chocolate has been whetted. And that's where it really hit me, how good these tours are as a tool for marketing. So first of all, let's mention the obvious. The Chocolate Company's higher quality product isn't as low priced as, say, a candy bar that you buy off the impulse rack from a major brand like Hershey's or Nestle. People who just want to buy candy can get it pretty much anywhere. The old days of having to buy candy from an actual candy store are long gone, and most candy stores you see in crowded places like shopping malls or airports focus more on bulk bins and variety than they do on quality. It's actually quite interesting that pretty much the only style of boutique candy stores that still exist are chocolatiers with fancy truffles, creams, and fruit-filled confections. Most are European style and emphasize purity and quality of ingredients, and what they have for sale tends to be focused on gifts and special occasions, not on daily indulgence. So the market for the Chocolate Company, and especially for the more luxurious Bissinger's brand, is occasional purchases. Now, I'm sure there are some regular customers who just really like chocolate, but they don't need to go to one of those branded retail stores to purchase these products. The tour guide told us their products are now carried in over 1,000 retail partner stores at this point. They have distribution down. The second problem is that chocolates aren't exactly novel. It's not hard to buy candy or even make it at home, and you can go to just about anywhere and find the higher quality European-style chocolate on the shelves. One of the best places, by the way, is Aldi, which carries European-style milk chocolate at unbelievably low prices. So the Chocolate Company has to stand out by offering flavors and forms that aren't something you can get just anywhere. One of the things they're known for is making chocolate molds that allow them to have some really cool gift items for birthdays, or for get well wishes or anniversaries or so forth. My kids really like buying the chocolate letters for their initials. They also offer chocolate bars made from numbered original recipes with flavors like blood orange caramel, cannoli truffle, and root beer float truffle, along with more conventional flavors like pecan caramel and sea salt caramel. And then, of course, they have seasonal items like pumpkin pie truffles, hot chocolate, and holiday flavors. Even so, a lot of these are still primarily targeting special occasions and gifting, and while you can build a sustainable business around that, what you really want is repeat customers who are coming to you for as many of those opportunities as possible, as well as perhaps to purchase a treat for themselves when they're out shopping. And that brings me back to the tours. If you examine what consumers are looking for in packaged goods these days, low cost or value always come up, and yet studies have repeatedly shown that people will spend more on brands that have some sort of experiential extension. Being able to engage in a fad driven by visibility on social media, for example, will get people buying silly things like Labubu dolls. Being able to go on an experience like to a Cardinals game or to the St. Louis Zoo or the Science Center and then shop at a gift shop will get people to spend extra money on items that they might have insisted on paying less for elsewhere. Context does matter. And being able to see how something is made before you buy it will inevitably get people to think about the quality of what they're buying and to become better educated about the reasons they might want to spend a little more for something as simple as a good piece of chocolate. The Chocolate Company's tour allows potentially hundreds of customers a day to come into a very clean factory, understand all of the human work that goes into producing these chocolates, and then understand how the finished products aren't being churned out just out of some machine, but they're being made in batches by people who are highly skilled at the process. They can also learn from the tour guides about the quality controls in place and the ingredients that are being used, and even the heritage of the brand. And now that the chocolate company owns Bissinger's, they've wisely incorporated that into their tours to talk about the hundreds of years of expertise and experience that go into making all of their products. Now, I don't know exactly how many people take a tour each day, but I can guess. They limit you to 20 people at a time and limit the volume of tours, and that means that there are probably around somewhere like maybe 500 to 1,000 people per week. And tours are open most days because the factory is being operated, so I'm presuming somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 people take a tour per month, and maybe around 25,000 to 30,000 a year. And they even have a map on the wall showing where people who have taken the tour are from. It's a really great attraction for tourists and locals alike, and it helps to build up a target market for not only buying their chocolates during the tour, but also buying them online. And that's a really smart way to grow and enhance their brand, especially since the chocolate company is now expanding into other markets with the Bissinger's retail stores. By demystifying the process and showing just how passionate they are about making great chocolate, they can reach an interested and engaged group of people who very likely reward them with on-site spending, I know I did, during that tour to help cover the costs. And all it takes is having a chained off area and some tour guides to shine a light into what they're already doing. And that is, by the way, so different from Willy Wonka's approach of being a mysterious and secretive chocolatier. And while he's very successful in the books and movies because he's a candy-making genius, his competitors are also constantly trying to find ways to replicate his process and his recipes. His factory is also, let's be honest, quite dangerous to pernicious children. The chocolate company, by contrast, has nothing to hide. Their chocolate is already great, and people will buy it for that reason. And you know all those Willy Wonka references? Well, they've actually embraced them there. They have a sign up on the factory floor letting you know that the Oompa Loompas are sleeping, and they have a bunch of handmade golden tickets hanging up behind the candy counter that children no doubt handed them when their parents brought them in for a tour. Marketing doesn't always have to be glitzy and glamorous, and it doesn't always have to scale to millions of people with every effort. Sometimes slow, steady, focused growth is your best friend, and these factory tours are one very creative way to turn a packaged good from an occasional gift item into something people are glad to indulge in because it brings with it the happy memory of a great experience. By the way, fun little side note about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Apparently, there's a new movie coming out in November called Charlie versus the Chocolate Factory, where Willy Wonka is going to be held responsible for his crimes and sent to prison. When he gets out of the clink, he has to face another kid named Charlie, who's this time leading a group of rotten youth determined to steal from his factory. Thank goodness actual chocolate factories aren't so dramatic. I'm Sean in St. Louis, and this has been the Marketing Gateway. See you next time. This month's plug is for KidSmart, a charitable organization based here in St. Louis, Missouri, with the mission of empowering children in need to succeed academically. And as we head back to school season, KidSmart will be out there handing out $104 million in school supplies to around 80,000 kids in the St. Louis area. They also operate a free education supply store and have a truck that brings school supplies directly into neighborhoods in need. As you might imagine, August is their Super Bowl, and they need both financial and volunteer support this month. So go to kidsmartstl.org to learn more.